Welcome back to King of Mondays, Brother Neil Frazier, aka Metamorphosis, coming back with
Greetings,
another
my
one.
brother. Greetings,
Best
my
part of the
brother.
week.
Greetings. Yeah, I
Thank
love
you.
that ring walk. Get me ready, hype, pump. I get the pre-fight talk from you, and yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm just glad you're not like Don King.
No. First of all, my hairstyle is a lot different than his.
That's true. I was just getting ready to say that. But how you doing, brother? Looking well? Did it storm going on over there?
Yeah. It came down pretty hard. And like I was
Yeah.
explaining to you before, like we're up so high. And usually the clouds are above us, but not like
Mm-hmm.
on regular, sea level land. When it gets
Right,
humid,
right.
when it gets misty, when the clouds get heavy and rain is about to come, you're not looking up. We're right up here with it. You
Yeah,
look sideways and here comes the storm rolling towards you. And
yeah,
it engulfs the whole mountain. Can't see anything.
yeah.
And we're in the lightning. We're in the
Man,
whole,
that's wild.
yeah,
That's
yeah, and
wild.
the thunder. We're in it.
Well, you know,
And
in San Francisco, they have the same type of fog and the clouds because I'm in the valley, you see it, it's like right there in your face. And
yeah,
it's a weird feeling like being in London running from the vampires and running from Jack the Ripper, where it's always fog. But it's a different type of feeling, man. But yeah, I'm glad to be with you again on Mondays, brother, you and the family. We know that there are a lot of different things going on in the world today. Is, deflecting the truth from the people, from the masses of people, and having systems that actually perfect this, what they do to us and how they manipulate truth. So
hmm
it's important for us to keep the truth in our face because
okay. From my side, it looks like he's freezing up. Let me see if this is truly happening here. Let's see. This seems to be a weekly occurrence. Okay, let's punch in and see. Okay, there's Brother Neil Frazier back again. Okay, you can see me. Let
can you
me
hear
add
me?
him here. Okay,
Okay,
brother, I got you.
okay, great.
I
I
got you.
unplugged the juice that I have coming into the iPad because I know that's another way that zap can come through. But
hmm
yeah, nonetheless, we need to continue to put the spotlight on issues that are affecting people, and as we were talking, some of these problems are different from what we experienced back in the day, in the sense that there was a sense of hope and recovery. In fact, in most of these systems, there was some type of structure in place. And Lance, you worked in the criminal justice system. I worked in it from a social service perspective.
hmm
So it's the thing is, there used to be something in place where people could come out and have some kind of hope of rebuilding their lives.
Right.
But what we're seeing today, the type of drugs that we're seeing, the type of economic situations that exist, the type of social, psychological, and spiritual um, degradation. I like to look at it like the spiritual and psychological decalcification of our pineal gland will help pull the veil off of our eyes, in which they like to use the word woke to try to make people feel some kind of way. But we know that's good for us because when we decalcify what they have used mainly through religion, and today I just wanted to say that there's not going to be any religious overtones, because what that does is it may be from those who interpret it a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is that brings in this emotional that you use us in this condition.
Mm-hmm.
That's used to keep us in this condition where religion actually decalcifies our pineal gland. So yeah, brother, like I was telling you, that banner is awesome. I'd like to know. I already know. I already know some of you thinking about this, but well, break it down for us like you always do, so we can get kicked off. Yes.
Well, I went by your title, Behold a Pale Horse, Death and Hell in America.
Yes.
And those of us in America, we already know and have seen death and hell.
Oh, yeah.
Not a place that comes after a life of sin, so they say.
Yeah.
We're removing the religious aspect of it, but the factual. We're going through hell, a real hell.
Oh, yeah.
The hell that we can feel. So I wanted to place things that let you know what it's all about. So I had certain elements, and behind the logo, let me remove the logo up in the upper right-hand corner first.
Okay.
So you can see economy collapsing, Wall Street, greed, no justice, no peace. You see pills there, fentanyl. You see us on the lower left-hand side, walking with chains. Then you see a sign that says Hopeless Avenue, and someone below it in a tent pitched a sign that says homeless, not hopeless. You see fires behind, Washington.
Yeah, I see that.
And you see, people.
That's a powerful image.
Bags of money by the greed sign on the right. But most important and centered, you see the pale horse and you see who's riding it in. So that's very much real. It's very much real.
It never crossed my mind that to put him on the pale horse, even though it did cross my mind a couple of days ago, but not in the visual sense that you have it right here, which actually describes everything else going on in the background when you think about the source of a lot of the things that you are expressing there. That can't be denied.
The angel of death, the symbol.
Yeah. And man, all of those elements, the thing about living and experiencing life is that you can either decide to turn a blind eye to it. Huh?
Say it again?
Now, I said you can either decide to turn a blind eye to it, but one thing that you cannot do is run away from it or escape it.
No, you can't.
And as we're going to see today, go ahead, Lance.
Oh, yeah, and thank you, Sister Diane. The thing is that America, the place called America, the United States, it's like a destination off of a highway. We all can get to the destination, but when we get on the highway, we get on the highway in different entrances. So we're all coming from a different place. So one person who sees this banner may say, oh my God, I don't see all of that happening, but stick around. You might see the homelessness first. You might see the drug use first. You might see crime first. You might feel the greed first, and you live an affluent life. Death will come. See, so many of us will say, oh my God, this is just too much. It can't be that bad. Yes, it is. It depends. It depends on where you
even if you're personally experiencing some form of prosperity, when you go out into the real world, you can't. I mean, it's in our society. It's like a cancer.
Yes. But I tell you, I was speaking to somebody today about going to America. Like, they want to go so bad. and they were asking me about it. And when people do that,
I know, I believe it.
From this side, it's like I try not to sound like I'm discouraging them, because I see all of it, but they only see, oh, I want to go there. I know it's nice, and the jobs and a new life. And I'm like, I don't want to lead somebody to slaughter. You know? I think Brother Neil froze up. I see the screen is black, so I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, I have another source of audio here that's delayed a little bit to see what's really going on. So, Brother Neil, if you can hear me one more time, let's try it. Just back out and come back again, if you can do that. Okay, let's see. He's going to come back in again. I'll keep the dialogue going. But yeah, I was speaking to this young lady today, and she was telling me, she said, oh, I would just love to see what it's like. I would just love to go there and maybe get a little job and, you know, work a little bit and get a little place. And I'm like, and she was so wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, so enthusiastic, like that was the answer. And that's really what's taught here in the motherland, indirectly. A lot of people are not seeing potential here where others come and see it, but they'll go into the belly of the beast. And many that I know are quickly trying to get out, because the things they have here, many take for granted. I was saying, listen, this slower life, all the sunlight, this low crime rate, you know, the community feel. When I think about it, even being off the clock in America feels like I'm on a job. When I punch out, when I was living there, when I punch out and I'm done, I know I'm not the collective elements of what it was. But moving away from it, I can really see it for what it is. And I don't know to put a number on it. You can have different people.
Okay.
Yeah, you're back, brother.
Yeah. So what I decided to do this time is I went all the way out and rebooted it. Maybe,
okay. Beautiful.
But yeah, so we were you were saying, or I was saying, that we can't, you can close a blind eye to it, but that doesn't change the fact that every time you go out in the world, that you're going to experience something that's similar to whatever this hell that you've been told about. And you were saying about someone asking you about America and coming here.
Yeah. So I kept the dialogue going while you were going for a bit, but I'll finish it up really quick. I was basically saying that many don't know what's really there.
Mm-hmm.
They don't feel it. They see it on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And they're coming from a different environment. So they're in their environment, feeling good with the sunlight and good morning, good afternoon in the villages and just peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
Their engagement on social media intoxicates them and makes them feel like they're lacking something most of the time, especially the younger folks, because they see the materialism. And from where they stand here, many of them say, wow, I'm not going to make that amount of money here to get these things. I need to go to America. I need to go to the United States or the UK. And many of the youngsters here are not taught to invest in the land that they're in with the rich resources. And they're taught to be separate. And on the continent, and I'll just make this quick, when you look what's going on between the South Africans and the Ghanaians, and we want you out of here.
About that.
Who created the borders that made us see this whole continent as you're over there and I'm over here?
That's a good point.
Broke it up that way. Right. The languages, the thought, we're all one people here, but it's not like that. on the
The
ground.
Berlin Conference, for one.
Right. Ghanaians, most of the time, they see Nigerian, they don't trust them. You know,
Really?
Nigerians at one point threw out all the Ghanaians many years ago, and so there's that resentment. So they think that when they come to America, they see the music videos, they see the entertainment, they see the laughter, the luxuries, the amenities. They figure that's the answer. But I was telling a young lady today, I said, you can go there and experience it for yourself. But the bottom line is that the things you have here that you take for granted are luxuries over in America that you have to pay for, that you have here free. But if you only open your mind and see here as a unify with your brothers and sisters and work together, you can have anything you want. Here we have brothers and sisters here walking amongst up in these beautiful mountains. You take a walk and it's breathtaking. It's peaceful, it's quiet. But they don't understand it until they get to a place where they have to keep moving. It's like you're still drowning, even though you're still trying to paddle in the water. And like I said before you came back on, when you punch out from doing your hours on the job, whatever job you're doing, when you leave out, you still feel like you're on the job. There is no stress relief. You just know that you're not on the job, but you better keep your eyes open because life in America, and especially the bigger cities, you still have that weight on you. You see what I mean? You're still looking over your shoulder. You're still wondering what's going on. You hear a firecracker go off and your nervous system, you can't live. You can't. And only once I left here permanently that I can see it for what it is. Because when I came here, my guard was still up. Psychologically. And it took time it got to a point where things were so quiet in the evening and the day, I was on alert like, yo, this is a trick.
That must have been a weird experience.
You're not going to fool me.
Right.
You see what I mean? And now.
That must have been a weird experience.
Yes. But brother, come on and
man.
Let's break it down. You know I can talk all night when you're here.
I know it. I know it. When you got the gift, you got to use it. And you do it well. But so today's topic, is very important for us to keep our eyes open and stay woke and look at the reality and not what is being uploaded to us. And I want to start out, I know a lot of us who grew up in the church, and even if you didn't grow up in the church, are familiar with this particular script from Revelation 6 and 8, where the title today really came from. So I'll just read it real quick. Again, the topic of today's show, behold, a pale horse, death and hell in America. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death. And hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and by the beast of the earth. And again, I just want to reiterate that we're going to look at this from our actual experience, not from any emotional religious rhetoric, but from our actual experience or experiences in America, what we're dealing with now, and how not to be fooled. Now, you may believe there is a place called hell after the afterlife, but as I believe, and many other people who are woke believe, that we're living in hell right here today in America. Okay, and we're going to show that today. It's not something you can run away from. And like Lance and I were talking earlier, the type of problems that we see now, there is no coming back from this. Okay, the power of the drugs they have on the street, combine that with the hellish conditions that people are living in, then you'll see the total picture of what we're talking about today. And a couple of things before we get into our first visual of that. that rider on the pale horse is, and we're gonna talk about this in all areas today, is that the rider on the pale horse, whose name was Death, was also, there was a condition called hell that actually followed with this death that we're experiencing in all areas. So, and it's interesting that it says that, and hell followed with him, and power was given unto them. So it didn't just say the power was given unto the pale rider, okay, of death rather. It was also given to this condition called hell. So then, you know, when you remove the religious aspect of it, like we're going to do today, we can actually see what is being manifested in this condition of hell that I believe that this particular script was talking about on a spiritual, psychological, and physical level. So, brother, if you want to start out with that first, that pale rider of death, we'll just go. Yes, perfect picture there. You know, a picture's worth 1,000 words. And a lot of times we need to look at the actual visual of something in order to get the right impact. So let's talk about this condition of death, not from a religious aspect, but from our actual experience. No, you had it, brother. That was
it.
I
tapped it by mistake. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no problem. So you, well, it just proves you're human, right? You're not AI. So,
exactly.
right. So dead but still alive. A person who is considered dead while still alive is often described in a few different ways depending on the content. First is a legally dead person, someone declared dead by law, even though biological functions may still continue in limited ways. For example, a brain dead person while on life support. Then we have the socially dead, a person treated by society as if they no longer exist or matter, despite being alive. And this term is used in sociology, medicine, and in history. So I'm going to read that again, because this is very, very important to what we're discussing today, that a socially dead person, a person treated by society as if they no longer exist or matter, despite actually being physically alive. Then there is the civilly dead or civil death, which is a historical legal concept where a living person loses nearly all civil rights. And we actually have something that we can point to recently in American history that supports this, the Voting Rights Act, that's being gutted, taking away Black people's voting power. Okay, so in a sense, you're losing your civil rights in terms of voting, which is something very important in America, or anywhere for that matter. And it's treated as dead in the eyes of the law. So in the eyes of the law, many times we are considered dead, even though we're alive, in a social sense and in a civil sense. Okay. Also, for example, in some old legal systems, and I don't like that word term old because it's still here, involving prisoners, which is convict leasing. Then you have when someone is dead to another person, which we often see as one of the side effects in our society of a lot of things we deal with when you have a lot of these narcissists that teach people that people are only here to serve your purpose. but it's an idiom meaning a person is emotionally cut off by other people or groups or communities or what have you, or rejected. And we see this a lot when you don't follow the script, like someone like Lance, then there is a penalty that the system automatically, or they'll do something to try to stop, your forward progress, because they're more concerned about you waking up other people. That's the biggest fear.
Yes.
Then we have the walking dead, which we're going to talk about today as well. This is a figurative expression for someone who is emotionally empty, which we find a lot of people in this state today, severely exhausted, okay?
Yes.
Or lacking purpose. So in other words, the purpose for which the gift you have no longer matters because you have all these other forms of death that's affecting you. You're socially dead, and then you're civilly dead. And so this is why they use religious rhetoric when they're describing the scripts, because when you break it down through opening your pineal gland, then you see all of the other things that they hide in order for you not to see the truth.
Yes.
And then finally, we have the emotionally dead, numb, disconnected, unable to feel joy or meaning. And this is why so many people take pleasure in other people's pain. Okay, or like the old adage, misery loves company.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's talk about hell on earth. Let's talk about that. Okay. Lance, if you want to put that picture of, you see all the people that are in almost like a zombie type state. That's now these are actual. Yes, thank you. These are actual. This is actual footage. Okay, it may look like something like a movie that was taken by people who are out there in the field taking these type of videos. This is real. This is real. This is not AI. For out of respect for that city, we're not gonna, say where it is.
I know exactly where it is, but I'm not going to say nothing.
You know exactly where it is.
I follow an Instagram page. There's a guy that walks around and shows everything, but he tries to help people too. But he's bringing awareness to it. But it's just like this.
Yeah, and something? This is in every single state in America.
Yeah,
believe it or not, maybe in varying degrees.
Yeah,
but when you talk about death, okay, in terms of what we described just now, and now we're going to look at hell on earth. This is the condition that was also given power over a fourth of the earth. Okay. This is a condition created by human behavior or deliberate actions of humans and a social system that perpetuates it. Now, I want to say that again. Okay. When this is hell, okay, I don't care nothing about no people talking about some hell that you're going, like Curtis Mayfield said, if there's a hell below, we're all going to go. Okay. So when you look at this is hell on earth. In my mind, I don't know what your definition of hell is. Okay. But I'm talking about from a spiritual, psychological, and obviously a physical perspective. This is hell on earth. And again, this is a condition that's created deliberately by other human beings or so-called human beings, okay, that have set up systems that produce or manifest this. But in everyday language, people use the phrase hell on earth to describe any reality that feels unbearable, dehumanizing, which we see here, or spiritually empty. Conditions of extreme suffering, fear, deprivation, or psychological torment experience not when you die, after you die, rather while you're alive, like what you're looking at right now. It describes situations where people feel trapped in unbearable physical, emotional, social, and economic conditions. Now let's look at some of the definitions for hell on earth. Psychological hell: severe depression, trauma, obviously addiction we see here with this dangerous drug, fentanyl, that's, I believe, 100 times stronger than morphine, something like that. Also, this new drug they call tranq, that's actually used as a horse tranquilizer. And it produces, there are people that are losing their limbs because it is a flesh-eating drug. And see, they're not addressing this, okay? And this is why we know that we're under the Zool system. Now, I have a lot of people asking me what I mean by that. It is an ancient, powerful demon that controls an army of vampires that produce this. And they're all soulless. Azul is soulless. So this is psychological hell: severe depression, trauma, addiction, chronic anxiety, which we know is the largest psychological mental health problem in America today. 40% of people are on some form of anxiety medication. Okay, this is from the American Psychological Association, not Neil Fraser. Isolation or living in constant fear. Then there is social hell, the environments that people are living in, which are shaped by violence, abuse, and that abuse can be in all forms, oppression, discrimination, corruption, and social collapse. Then there's economic hell, which is poverty, homelessness, exploitation, hunger, debt, or lack of opportunity and employment. Now, let's take a minute to look at this economic hell, because this is the one that hits people first before the other types of hell come. Okay, this is from the personal level, that you as an individual, your family, your friends, people that you know personally, this is where it hits them first. In poverty. Lance, if you want to put up that picture of the tent.
Yes.
This is something else that's in the Bay Area, and I know it's in other states. I've looked at it, Texas. It's all over the country. Not that one. The one with the tents. Yeah, I know they're kind of small for you.
Yeah, they're very small. Hold on.
You know what? Actually, leave that there, Lance.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Because this economic hell produces this. So when you look at poverty, and some people might say, oh yeah, well, they're drug addicts, blah, blah, blah. No. There are many, I've heard many testimonies of people who worked in professional environments, because the majority of Americans is one paycheck away from homelessness.
Yep.
I was looking at this statistic where 83% of all earned income in the United States is through employment. So what happens? These systems, what they do, they lay off everybody in their off from their jobs. Now, those who are fortunate enough to be entrepreneurs and go out and make things happen, that is great. Okay. But you still have a large class of people who work in this system in all industries that are being gutted. Okay, so this type of economic hell and this homelessness, because if you're on the street for a week, I guarantee you're gonna start using some kind of drug. I ain't talking about living in your car, I'm talking about living on the street.
Yep.
I know what I'm talking about. Okay, if you're living on the street, the chances of you being strong enough not to get in this condition is almost 100% to none. Then you have the exploitation. You have hunger. So when the crops are dying in the fields, and the ripple effect, and we talked about it when we did the video on the fire next time, when the food is so high, people have to make a decision between paying bills and buying food. And then you withdraw the safety net from under people, where, you know, you're no longer giving people a hand up. Okay, and I'm not talking about people that abuse the system. You can't just use a small amount of people to justify the soulless act against people, particularly with small children not being able to get food. Then you have, of course, debt or a lack of opportunity and employment, what we just talked about. Then you have political hell, where you have war every day, war zones. And today, I just want to stop to just acknowledge all the people that have served in the military. Lance, I know you and the family know a lot of people. Of course, my brother,
yes,
who drunk himself to death when he, you know, at 52. He was in the military. He was a military police. Then my niece, she's been on the show with us before, Lance.
Yes, I remember.
She's from New Jersey. Yeah. Beverly, one of my favorite. And then one of my nephews was in the military. He's from the Bronx, but he's lived in Harlem ever since he came back out of the military. Nobody knows where he is. One of my brother's son. But again, you have a situation where these systems have stripped people of their dignity and their freedom, where you have these dictatorships that's making decisions about people's lives that are only in their best interests, which produces a type of slavery to whatever condition you're in, and genocide. There are more people with the feeling of hopelessness that at any time, well, in my lifetime, that I've seen. And I, you know, of course, I'll go back and look at history, but something is different now, and everybody can feel it. A lot of people talking about it. You talk about it a lot, Lance. It's something you can feel. It's an energy that's different. And then you have the personal hell, where you have the toxic relationships. There's a lot of grief, betrayal, imprisonment, or destructive life cycles, where people are repeating the same things over and over again, mainly out of habit or mainly out of not. And I don't like to make excuses, because all of us have to, quote unquote, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Now that's a term that have been weaponized against us. Okay.
Yes.
And that's something different. But what I mean by that is is that you've got to find a way to find a niche. Usually you have to grow where you're planted, okay, to continue to work towards your purpose while still navigating this hell on earth that we live in every day. And you have to find a way to do that. I know it's not easy, particularly for us. And I wanted to finish saying this about the veterans, all of the veterans and their families. The thing that people have to realize is Black people have fought in every war in America's history. One of the things that's very puzzling, well, it's not puzzling, but it's something that is really like a form of blasphemy. Their word, which describes someone who is a hypocrite, and mainly, you know, they acknowledge that the Creator through rhetoric, but they don't put the power behind or the spirit behind what they're saying. Okay, so nearly close to 500,000 soldiers globally, including American soldiers. I believe American soldiers, how many American soldiers? Probably about 400,000 globally, fighting against Nazism.
Wow.
But yet, see, these are the type of contradictions that when you sit down and look at, you can see the okie doke that they use against the American people. Because while we're celebrating Memorial Day today, and by all means we should, what they do is they tie in how you talk about them and the government that's against their own people and try to make it seem like you're against the military. The majority of us, if we didn't have family, we had friends that we grew up with that went into the military as well. So the point is, all of these people, it's like spitting on their graves and in the face of their their ancestors, their loved ones. Because clearly we have people who today will technically, with the Azul system, go out and perform acts as if they're honoring these fallen people or heroes, if you want to call them that, and sheroes. I don't have a problem with that. But yet, you have a system that is the antithesis of what they fought and died for. Now, how does that make sense? And see, when we sit down and look at these contradictions, there should be a major outcry against this Azul system today, as well as worshiping the fallen soldiers. So I just wanted to bring that up because a lot of time we get caught up into this pomp and circumstance like they do with us. You know, when you get into churches and clapping and you done gave over $450 billion, Black people, in the last 32 years, 33 years. Which for most countries, I'm not going to get into that, but we get the picture. So now let's talk about something that's very, very important. We want to talk about the impact of this. And this is when I'll show the picture of the tents, Lance. Let's show the impact of this horse, this pale horse, this rider death, and the condition of hell that the American people live in. Let's talk about the impact of this declaration of Revelation 6 and 8. You there, brother?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
I'm looking for the picture of the tent, but let me see. Wait a second. What is this here?
Lance, anyone you want to put up, I'll go with that. So this is just the unemployment lines that we see, and you can see them anywhere you go when you go near a unemployment office. Okay, I don't just talk about this stuff. I go out, boots on the ground, and I observe. Okay, so this is, unemployment. I'm not going to say where it's from. Okay, but clearly, one of the things that's happening now is you're seeing a different class of people, if you want to say it that way, that are now experiencing the things that we've had to navigate through all the different types of hell that Black folks have had to live under in this country. Okay. And so with that, and I'm not the type of person where I glory in the downfall of other people, but I'm not the one that's controlling what's happening. I'm not the creative spirit. Okay. Because you got to remember that power was given unto death and hell to do this. Think about that. They were given the authority. Who do you think gave them the authority to do that? Think about that. That's what jumps out at me. Mm-hmm. This is not just some random act. Death and hell was given the authority to do this. Now let's look at the impact of this declaration. If you want to flip to another visual, brother. Yeah. They were given authority over 1/4 of the earth. Okay, that's fine. To kill using specific methods, such as the sword, which represents war, famine, which represents hunger, disease, and pestilence. We know what that represents because there's a source of it that is being put out now. And then wild animals or beasts. And when you think about this, this has to be a mentality. Okay. Now, when you also look at the fact of war and materialism. Okay. Now, we all know that our law enforcement in America has been militarized. Mm-hmm. Now, in the early days, in the 60s, where they would spray the hoses and the dogs and things like that, using chains and stuff like that, and tire irons, it wasn't the type of militarization that we see today. Okay. Also, let's talk about war and materialism. Militarism. We have a picture of a soldier as well, because again, today being Memorial Day, we want to talk about not just hyping people up, talking about people out, fighting the good fight because we are a Christian nation. And many times our military is used to carry out the desires of this Azul system. Mm-hmm. But we see during war and militarism, economically, inequality, mass incarceration, environmental destruction, public health crisis, like we see now, and spiritual emptiness despite material wealth. You can go through the visuals, brother, as you like.
Okay, and you know what happened?
What?
On one email, I didn't have that tent, but I found it. I found the one that you wanted to put up. So I just
okay, great.
I just got it for you.
Great. Thank you, brother. Because again, when we look at this, then it has a different meaning than me just talking about it. Okay. Right. So what's the symbolic meaning of this hell on earth?
I'll be right back, brother. Give me a second. I'm gonna get something to
go ahead, Lance. That's great.
Okay.
I can go with this for a minute. So what is it that we actually see? Not the rhetoric that we're hearing. And what is the symbolic meaning of hell on earth? Okay. And death. So the pale horse is often associated with death. which is what we're discussing today, social collapse. Through disease, through moral decay, through fear and instability. The Greek word translated can also mean sickly or poor health, and it also symbolizes corruption, decay, and lifelessness or no soul. Also, the rider death symbolically represents systems that destroy life. Not only just physically, but spiritually, through hopelessness, and economically, through destroying all means to sustain yourself, your family, and, a community. Also, the rider death psychologically produces mental health, in which people are now starting to see and comprehend that racism is a form of mental health. It has to be, because no normal thinking person, particularly if you're put in a position of leadership over the creator creatrix children, can do this. That is impossible, because now what you're saying, or either you don't have them in you, their fire, their spirit in you, okay? Because we know that through Me'atan laws, which the 10 Commandments came out of, we know that it is based on truth, justice, righteousness, harmony, and balance, okay? So whenever your laws, man laws, are out of alignment with the Creator's laws, then this is what the result is right here, this hell on earth, that people are actually experiencing. Not while they're dead. These people are alive and breathing. I've been down to the tents. I talked to them. I've ran shelters before. Okay, I've ran shelters here in the Bay Area. Okay, I was a caseworker for the city of New York and Brownsville, Brooklyn. So I'm not just running my mouth. And the reason why I say that, because a lot of times our people, when you say something, they'll be like, well, how does he know? Okay, I've actually lived amongst people, okay? And I can tell you that unless there is somebody actually not just giving rhetoric or I'll pray for you and all this stuff, if you're not extending some form of lifeline to people in this condition, they will never recover. And you can say, yeah, pull yourself up by your bootstraps like I did, or you shouldn't have been doing drugs. Okay, these are the type of excuses that are made in order not to uphold the Creator's laws. Okay, and so it's very easy when these systems produce these type of outcomes for them to put the blame on these people. Say, oh yeah, they're just victims. They got the like they do black folks. They have a victim mentality. Well, I don't hear that word being thrown around so much nowadays. I don't hear that word being thrown around.
Right.
So the people that we saw in that unemployment line, a lot of them are speaking out now. Are we going to call them victims? Are we going to say they have a victim mentality? Because believe me, oh yeah, they're experiencing it and talking about it, which they should. They should have been doing a long time ago, but that's neither here nor there. We're here in hell. So let's look at what it means when it says that hell followed with him. Okay, so this death spirit that's on this pale horse didn't just bring death, it brought hell too. Now think about that for a minute, because you're looking at hell. I don't know what you want to call it, but that's what I call it. And I think about certainly one of the songs that I like that Tupac made called Blasphemy. When he was saying, we probably in hell already. Have you ever seen a crackhead? Have you ever seen a person that's really addicted to a drug and they're out on the street? And certainly, Lance, I know I'm preaching to you in the choir and the family.
No, keep it going, brother. We love it.
Yeah, and the family. But you see, if we don't, particularly Black people, because a lot of our people, and I was telling you this, Lance, we have turned into, oh, perfect. Thank you, Christian. Can you put that picture of the vampire up for me?
Sure.
Please. Thank you. Now, a lot of our people are under the influence of this soulless being that have lived throughout their existence, that have put this wicked spirit in our people. I don't care if you don't like me. And we see the conditions that it has produced. And let's talk about why these vampires produce this hellish condition, because this is how they flourish. And you can, whoever you want to, they're Black vampires too. Okay. I'm done with that. Okay. Well, here's the thing. They're not vampires in the sense I'm talking about here, but they're possessed by this spirit to a point where they're exhibiting this behavior. So it's a form of possession. Okay, this is clear. So let's talk about this hell that followed him. The consequences of destructive systems, which is trauma, fear, and suffering, ripple through society. Social breakdowns creates cycles of violence and despair. And then we have generational trauma, which is just the long-term effects of racism, okay? And also exploitation through political division and through other means of separating people, regardless to what type of terminology you use, okay? Now, the reason why we have to look, we have to look at this, okay, because this is not just, there are actually several, and we did a video a couple of years ago, Lance, about the vampires that actually existed or lived in certain parts of the world that they documented. And then, of course, we know about Vlad the Impaler, okay, who his dad was considered, his name came out to, Dracul. He was called something like King Dracul or something like that. Okay. Now, let's talk about the fourth part of the earth, large-scale suffering, okay, affecting major populations. Also, global influences of empires like the United States that use corporations or international corporations or superpowers. They go beyond our borders. There are systems of conflict spreading beyond national borders, and the dangers of imperial power and national decline, which is done through the abuse of power, and societies moving away from justice and compassion. Now, vampires have no soul, so they do not have compassion, and they do not know what justice is. Now think about that. These terms are foreign to them. In other words, a vampire, there's no such thing as justice and compassion. Okay. And then we see the cycles of violence that's produced by greed. Which ultimately causes conflict throughout the world. Okay, brother, we can go to another picture. If whatever picture you have.
All right.
Yeah, you like that one, huh? Or you can leave it there. Okay, perfect. That was actually perfect. Because as I was talking about the conflict between Memorial Day today, where we had this astronomical amount of soldiers that fought against this system and this condition that have people living in hell, and they actually gave their lives for this. So those of us who came after them would enjoy the fruits of America like we're supposed to. But then you have this ugly history of the foundation of our country rearing its ugly head again. Now, how does it make sense when you have the leadership of our nation using this system or honoring soldiers that have died for America throughout time, including a bunch of black folks and people from all cultures here in America? But yet, you have this same energy that they see nothing wrong with this. But you can be, I bet you when I turn on this TV today, I'm going to see memorial celebrations all over this country. But nobody is talking about the fact that we have this Nazi spirit that's not just in America, but that's taken over the world again. When all these people, Russians, all these people, Europeans, Americans, even Africans, everybody fought against this. So you tell me how this makes sense. So let's look at how this causes a form of death as well. Okay, in a psychosocial and socioeconomic sense, it does not only mean physical death. It certainly can describe conditions where a person, group, or community experiences the loss of identity, opportunity, stability, dignity, power, and social belonging. Now, it also describes forms of suffering that weakens human potential over time. And again, it's these social systems, like the highest court in the land. And I don't care what nobody say, there's something wrong when a black man that has that type of power does this to his own people. It shows a type of sickness and mental illness that exists in our country that has gone to a level, well, I can't say worse than back when we were on the plantations, but it's pretty much in a psychological and socioeconomic sense, it's the exact same experience. And it adds, it's almost like when they used to pour salt into the wounds when you remember the picture the brother Langston Hughes talked about, and we had, you showed one time with the scars, when they put out cigarettes on his back, and his family was fighting against these pictures and put salt and vinegar in your wounds.
Wow.
See, this is what they don't want to talk. Bruh. So if America is at a crossroads, And unfortunately, over 50% of Americans think that this is okay. Not only think that this is okay, but you can have someone going around and thank God the situation. I'm sorry he shot the black veteran, which nobody wants to talk about in the larger media. It should be outcry. You're going around antagonizing black people, but you know what communities to go to, okay? I don't know where you was going. I can guarantee you wasn't in Memphis. They know where to go and play these I'm white and I say so games. However, if that was a black person or a brown person for that matter, going around to white communities do that, they wouldn't have been alive to go to face any kind of justice. That's just how it is. Hell, they wouldn't even have to be doing anything. Just the fact of being in the community, walking around, puts you like a deer in the headlights situation. So let's look at the social death that this produced. When people are treated as though their voice, their humanity, or existence has little value, okay, hear me good, then this is a form of social death. So when you see the proponents of this type of system, then we know that something is terribly wrong. And that's why I say we're going to have to find a way to put the right spirit back in to white men in this country. Because I don't care what you say, do not fool yourself. We would have never came out of slavery. I know a lot of black folks going to get angry about this, without white people dying for our freedom as well. Okay? That is just a fact of history. You can go read it for yourself. The abolitionist movement. That same situation exists today. However, we've gotten into a danger zone where you have men who want to say something. They're going to be ostracized. I saw a video where a white guy called his own daughter a ninja lover.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So let's be real about this. Everything is open. They're not hiding it. So what do you expect us to do? Crawl up and go into a hole or something? These people are insane. No, we're not going to do that. And I will say this, and I'm speaking to my folks. I know that we have always been the moral and ethical foundation of America. Okay, but you've got to understand something. When you're chosen, that doesn't mean that you're going to, like Langston Hughes says, life ain't been no crystal stair. Okay. We had to walk on stairs where we knew there were nails in the stairs. Our children had to walk in. So we know this life. But yet and still, because of the soul of black folks, which you can read, is a great book to read, we answer to a higher power, even though you're subjected under the Azul religious system. We still answer to that because that fire is within us, whether you acknowledge it or not. Okay. The other thing is, when you look at the statement that Frederick Douglass made, he said that the atrocities committed against the black citizens of the United States would even shame a nation of savages. Now you go think about that. Okay, brother, I'm really tired of looking at it because it gets you emotionally, and it's a natural feeling from our genetic memory bank. But this is a reality.
Exactly.
You know, while we're celebrating Memorial Day, and we should, is
Right.
that we're still living under the reality of hell on earth for the majority of Sun people. Now, let's look at the social economic experience of death, which refers to conditions that we showed earlier, where economic systems limit or destroy a person's ability to thrive materially and socially. This involves persistent poverty, unemployment, or underemployment, housing insecurity or homelessness, lack of healthcare access, and educational inequality. It also involves cycles of debt, which one of the greatest, or the greatest example in our history is the 150 years of sharecropping debt that our people used to depend on the good Christians to do the books, but every time they came back, they always came back not producing enough seeds. Make that make sense. How did that happen? Also, the wealth extraction from our communities, which we mentioned earlier, $450 billion in 33 years, taken out of our communities, given back to these systems who don't give a damn about people that look like you and me. Therefore, there are no corporations where we live. You have to still go drive 30 miles from where you live to experience any type of situation where the corporations, and anywhere you see these corporations, the community naturally is healthy. But they deliberately, and like we said in the beginning, this is a behavior, a deliberate human action that creates these social systems, one, by abstracting a corporation that can help keep a community vibrant in a lot of ways. Also, the pale horse and its rider named Death can also be understood as a metaphor for large-scale social collapse and the destructive forces that follow inhumane instability. And you know, another statistic I was looking at yesterday, the US dollar has decreased, as far as this is believed, 9% since 1960. So a dollar today is worth between, I believe it's $11. I'm sorry. What a dollar could buy or purchase in 1960, it takes $11.25 to $12 to do the same thing. Now you let that sink in. And on top of that, wages have been disproportionately left behind. So when we look at this visual here, we see another type of social hell. Okay, and we know that many of these viruses, and I'm going to do a tap dance here, Lance, because I know what they'll try to do to your channel. But we know that these are not, in many cases, natural occurrences. I'll put it that way. So these are things that can be manifested, and in many cases, they're done in a way that you can't avoid it, because any type of contact, here we can see what's the word term I'm looking for, where they're airborne pathogens. Okay, so you can't see it, you don't know where it is, so it's like a silent death. Okay, and so anytime you have a condition where there is some form of this living hell and death, then we know that if you don't have systems in place that can effectively eradicate this, then the outcome in many cases is going to be a fourth of the earth is going to suffer as a result of this. So again, I mentioned earlier that the pale color was associated with sickness, decay, lifelessness or soulless, fear, and loss of vitality. But finally, the last three forms of death that produce this hell on earth: psychological death, where there is a collective despair, say amongst a group of people, a community, or a nation of people. And in our case, we are what you call a de facto nation. We're a nation within a nation. Okay, Black Americans are. So in that sense, this psychological death, even if you turn a blind eye to it, when other people, Black people, are affected by something, it affects you at a subconscious level that you may not even be aware of. And it produces trauma, hopelessness, emotional numbness, moral collapse, erosion of the human spirit. Also, there's social political death, where again, people use war as an economy, because let's face it, massive amount of wealth is produced for governments and these multinational corporations when there are wars. And then there's the social collapse that inevitably come as a result of this through pandemics, famine, institutional failure, like we're seeing all around us, widening in inequality, and systems that consume human life for greed, power, and profit. And finally, forces that snuffs out human life, which basically is a form of death and produces this hell on earth, are not just biological or mental, but they are social and economic. And it also produces mass shootings and violence, addiction epidemics, economic collapse, environmental destruction, and social alienation. I think I'll end the presentation on that one, brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me switch this one up here.
Yes. Perfect. Wow. So, you know, on the one hand, when we are looking at these conditions and reading things from a religious perspective, and someone telling you about a hell you're going to when you're no longer physically here, yeah, that might be. But I know one thing, that we know that there are several dimensions to our existence. And here on this planet, okay, we are living hell on earth. And we have this pale rider named death that's facilitating this. And so we have to fight against it like we are doing. We have to stay woke, vigilant.
Yes.
Continue to keep each other aware. Try not to get too emotionally. All you have to do is sit back and observe, okay? Now that your pineal gland is open, all you have to do is sit back and observe, and these things will be shown to you, okay, like they're shown to us. All right, my brother. Well, peace and blessings to you and the family.
Yes.
Hold on to the belts. I see you still.
You know it.
Perfected that jab. Went up another weight class. Trying to get all the belts. And I look forward to seeing you guys again next week.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, brother.
I want to thank you all for being here. It's always a pleasure. And make sure to go to LanceScurvX. Sign up with your email address. And I'm working on something immediately right now. And it should be up in another 2 hours or so, I would say. And then I may just do something else until I knock myself out. I want to give a big shout out to my dear brother, Nick, who I've been talking to on WhatsApp. And I have a few messages to send back to him. And the support is phenomenal. And it motivates me beyond all measure to continue to do what we do collectively. Because the spirit that I have inside of me, that my parents crafted, I'm not going to say I'm unbreakable, but you're not going to discourage me or make me stop. I am energy, just like you are energy. And energy is never destroyed. It just changes forms. So on that note, I'm going to get back to the drawing board. I'm going to sit right here and continue on with what I've been working on so I can share it with you. And we can enjoy some dialogue with that. And keep the ideas coming. You know, they're valuable to me. And we're going to keep on attacking, not really attacking, but attacking the things hidden in human nature so we can cut through life a lot easier. Much love to you all. On to the next one. Peace.
Viene la cigogna, viene